Hi. Chances are that if you clicked on this video, you're broadly aware of what I'm about to talk about. If you aren't, then don't worry, I will catch you up. For the last couple of days, or weeks really, the topic of Bungo Taiga, a VTuber accused of being a predator, has been a very popular topic, with a lot of people covering it. I have now watched many coverages, some better, some worse, with the general trend in most that I've seen being that they delved into this entire drama with the expectation of being shown that Taiga is in fact a child predator, only to find out that the evidence against him does not prove that allegation, and the people going after him are disgruntled ex-community members who are unreliable and untrustworthy. I understand that. After all, it's not too dissimilar from my own conclusion. Unfortunately, however, while most people were rightfully attacking the character of Taiga's accusers, they often cited an independent investigator's findings, which reinforced their beliefs while completely ignoring the multiple red flags and strange issues with this investigator's work. After giving you a broad overview of what happened, we will talk about the document called The Exoneration of Bungo Taiga and point out the numerous ethical and practical issues I have with the document and the investigator himself. This will include stuff like bias, seemingly purposeful omission of information that always works out in Taiga's favor, hypocrisy regarding lack of critical evidence despite levying some heavy accusations without proving them, and no due diligence on the investigator's part. Imagine my surprise when I read the document with the genuine belief that it will set the record straight, only to find out that it really gets Taiga out of a single accusation, albeit the important one of being a child predator, but while doing so is very cherry-picking with which of the damning screenshots floating about it shows us. Before we jump into it, let's make something abundantly clear. There is no conclusive evidence that Bungo Taiga is a pedophile. That being said, if you think otherwise, then I can say that having familiarized myself with the broader story, I can more or less understand why, even if I disagree with you. There's a ton of really problematic screenshots, messages, and tastes involved in Taiga's story arc, so I want you to know that you don't have to throw in your lot with either of the anti-Taiga or the pro-Taiga camp. It's perfectly fine to look at the collective available information and come out of it not believing the predator allegation, or alternatively, while not so much believing them, still wanting to have nothing to do with Taiga. Another thing to keep in mind is that my aim here isn't to cancel anyone. Taiga already is banned on YouTube and his unbanning does not seem likely. While I don't believe I'd push for him to be banned, I don't feel very sympathetic regarding the ban itself. What you, as the viewer, need to understand is that I'm not a fan of Taiga and I'm not an anti-fan of Taiga. I'm going to talk about this because it's a trendy topic in my general wheelhouse, my community likes VTuber coverage, and I want to get some easy views. The video is going to be timestamped, so you are welcome to jump between sections if you so desire. Do enjoy. The full scope of the story of Taiga is very broad and involves many names. What is relevant for you to understand this video starts with a different and very popular VTuber, Nux who during a collab with Moist Critical, the Jesus of YouTube, in front of hundreds of thousands of people, said that Taiga was outed to be a pedophile.
Is this HoloLive?
No, Taiga is an indie streamer who, I don't know the whole story, but Taiga was outed to be a
I don't know the whole story, but we want to talk about out of context, bro.
Nux later made a very half-assed apology following a backlash as a result of him levying unsubstantiated accusations, and promised a formal apology, which never really came. When explaining himself, Nux was sort of stumbling around, and his promise to Taiga to make it right by doing a Part 2 collab with Moist Critical, where he clears the room, never came to be because the second collab simply didn't happen. At this point in the story, Taiga's career takes a huge dive, because after all, who wants to support a predator? The issue, unfortunately, is that Nux, as per his own admission, did absolutely no due diligence and apparently just repeated what his friends told him.
do things, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a past thing. Like there was the VTuber that was canceled for allegedly doing weird grooming type shit. And like I was in a video and I was talking about it, and I also alleged that he did that because close friends of mine told me, and I saw, you know, creepy conversations of him talking to kids and or talking about kids and, you know, liking little boys and stuff like that. Who knows if it's a joke, you know? And like I alleged it also because a friend told me, and I regret it because he you know, I don't know if it's true. He ended up coming back with some sort of response. I don't know, this guy Bungo Taiga, and I apologized to him privately that I even alleged something like that, and like because a friend told me, and I believed him.
Muda put out a good tweet last night.
That's the hardest part of this whole thing. This guy Bungo Taiga, and I apologized to him privately that.
Let me be clear. Let me check exactly what he said. If I do a sequel with Charlie, I was planning on it. I'll try to clear the record more publicly. I'll also do more research. Again, I don't know right now, however. I'll try to rectify any extra damage I caused and hope you can accept my apology. This was in December 22nd, 2022. 2022! He said he was going to make a sequel video with Moist Critical. Video never came.
Also, make no mistake, when Nux says that he alleged it, he didn't. He claimed it. He says he doesn't know the full story and then still claims that Taiga is a nonce. He doesn't say allegedly, he doesn't refrain from commenting, he just goes out and says it, which is a bit ridiculous on two grounds really. First of all, Nux, as per his own admission, simply believes what his friends say. There is no process, no fact-checking, no due diligence before claiming something really nasty about a fellow content creator. Just, if my friends say it, then I believe it. Now, it's possible that this is the case, but if you don't want to believe Nux because of how many people simply make shit up and claim it's from their friends or for their friends, then I won't blame you. Second of all, Nux was recently, and kinda still is, under fire for wanting to collab with Shad, a well-known artist who makes lolicon and shotacon hentai art. The obvious degree of hypocrisy here goes without saying, and while Nux claims he offered the collab to grill Shad, Nux doesn't really strike me as the I grill people to find out the real truth type of a person. This is subjective, of course, but I feel like the type of a personality it takes to effectively grill somebody, in real time no less, is not the kind of a personality that would call people pedos with no evidence, but you are welcome to make up your own mind about it. If you don't believe Nux, then I don't blame you. Now, Nux claims to have apologized for this, and in a way he did, except that he also kind of just didn't. You see, the video where Nux apologizes for this is actually a part of his podcast that is 3 hours long, and for the vast majority of it covers topics completely unrelated to Taiga. The apology is 40 minutes in, and I mean that's just not how you do apologies. A pathetic "I'm sorry" buried deep in a broadly unrelated video is about as spineless as it gets, really. So, at this point in the story, Nux levied an incredibly big accusation at Taiga. I want you, the viewer, to be aware of two important considerations going forward. One is that many people believe that Nux is a bit of an idiot. So, was there anything in particular that made these accusations stick? And two, misinformation aside, can people inform themselves of Taiga's story, including the independent investigator stuff that we will get to soon, and still come out against Taiga? To answer this, here is what you need to understand. Taiga's personality is very PG-18. While this isn't even remotely uncommon as far as VTubers go, it is good to keep that in mind considering how Taiga's official ban reason is the violation of the nudity and sexual content policy. YouTube is known for not being the greatest when it comes to applying their rules fairly, but what you as the viewer should be mindful of is that when you're a hypersexual content creator, it won't really be that difficult to get you banned. When it comes to Taiga specifically, you need to look no further than his popular shorts.
No homo, right? My problem is, like, anytime I plan on singing on stream, I'll practice a bit before stream, and then I'll just use my voice up before I actually get to go live. Oh! I could do way better, I promise. I swear. Gotta believe me. Oh, please, please believe me.
You need to look no further than the subject matter of his previous controversy, where he was found out to have been commissioning art of his original character, as well as Killua and Gon from Hunter x Hunter as prepubescent underage characters, images so unsavory, by the way, that I can't show them to you lest I risk a ban myself, and you need to look no further than the image he shared with his silver play button. When paired with the fact that he's a Shotacon, you get a mix that I wouldn't blame you for describing as fetish-oriented. A thing to be mindful of is that you don't need to dig deep to find these things out. A lot of the screenshots I've just shown you can find in a number of popular videos about Taiga that are literally first from the top when you either Google or YouTube his name. Now, if you're not into this, then simply don't watch him. I'm a pro shipper, so if you have some more profound issues, then you can share them with me down below, or you can take them up with someone else. Now, if I was about to get a $60,000 donation...
Life is my creation, is my best friend. Imagination is my defense.
I'd put the thigh highs on quicker than you could ever realize. Unfortunately, we can't have nice things, and this apparent millionaire donating $60,000 to Taiga was very sexually attracted to him and turned into a stalker upon being turned down, going as far as driving to Taiga's hometown and filing police reports. It's important to remember this because this very stalker is one of the original accusers of Taiga. On one hand 60k, on the other a creepy stalker. Sad times. Now, if you feel some type of way about him being a Shotacon, then I understand how that might make you feel disgusted, but at the end of the day, those are drawings, and I don't really care. Here's the thing though, plenty of content creators get called nonces on a daily basis and they keep functioning. There appear to be actual nonces on Kick, and they're still live streaming to this day. Why did Nux's accusation carry so much water when people are broadly aware that Nux is wrong about as often as he is right? Now, I believe it's partially because of people being drama hungry and unwilling to dive deeper into any given accusation. It's partially because of Taiga being a Shotacon and antis are known for working overtime to mass report these kinds of people. And it's partially, and maybe most importantly, because at a glance, this entire situation looks really bad for Taiga. Then when you delve deeper into it, we get a bit of an exoneration. And then when you delve even deeper into it, it winds its way around to looking really bad again. Taiga, who already had his own fair share of independent controversies, especially since the brunt of the accusations are laid against him by his own ex-community members. Remember, as I said earlier, I'm not here to cancel anyone. But it is important that we're not oblivious to how things look like from the outside. We're looking at a situation where Taiga's ex-moderators and an ex-oiler of his have come out and called him abusive and a predator. A lot of the screenshots used look really condemning, and while you might argue that is just an edgy boy being edgy, you absolutely cannot expect others to see screenshots of Taiga like this, saying he wished his PE teacher molested him, or screenshots where he asked some friend of his to see the nudes of a minor that were apparently shared in a different Discord, of which this friend is a moderator, and not feel some type of way about it. This screenshot on screen right now is particularly problematic when you realize that context-wise, Taiga is not just asking for nudes of a minor, but visibly loses interest when the minor in question turns out to have been 17, as in too old for his tastes. Keep this in mind because it becomes very relevant later on. Here is another screenshot where Taiga says he purposefully alluded that he is 14 years old on Twitter and then brags about having gained over 1,000 new Predator followers from doing so. You see, when people see shit like this, they believe they don't need to delve deeper, because why would they? You have to understand that when you have this edgy attitude, it comes with pros and it comes with cons. Let's not be ignorant of this. You can't expect an organization like YouTube to look at you, look at these and think to themselves, yes, this warrants hiring a private investigator and doing a deep dive. When what they see is an edgy, hypersexual Shotokan fetishist who have had DMs leaked where he asks for the nudes of an underage minor and is seemingly welcoming of predators in his community, a community which, by the way, also has minors in it. That is a brand risk, it's an advertiser risk, and for an organization like YouTube, whether we like this or not, is just not going to be worth the hassle. Why would it be? You have to be able to admit this if you want to be taken seriously. That being said, this isn't where the story ends. This is where a guardian angel gets involved. An independent investigator, self-claiming to have experience going after cases of child sexual exploitation, released a document named The Exoneration of Bungo Taiga. I will not read the whole thing out because this video is already longer than I'd like for it to be, but in this document they outline how Gilk, one of the mods providing evidence against Taiga, or ex-mods I should say, was incredibly infatuated with Taiga and wanted to get closer, which was a parasocial desire that Taiga did not reciprocate. Only after being demodded for not being a proper mod, but rather only wanting the role to get closer to the object of his desire, he began leaking stuff. One of the other people involved in this leaking of evidence is the millionaire stalker I mentioned earlier, the very same one who filed police reports in search of Taiga after his advances were rejected. People like this aren't trustworthy. What the document aims to make pretty clear at this point, and the reason why Nux ultimately fucked up massively and should absolutely be held accountable, is that while the screenshots are real, albeit cherry-picked, they come from individuals who don't remotely care about children, their well-being, or their safety. They come from people who have set out to hurt Taiga by any means necessary, and therefore should be approached skeptically. The exoneration document also makes it clear that the screenshot I've shown you earlier, where Taiga asked for nudes belonging to a minor, timeline-wise, happened when Taiga was 19 years old and was making stupid, edgy jokes. Now, if you take an uncritical look at the document, as we have until basically this point in the video, it does, in my opinion, a pretty decent job at exonerating Taiga. It doesn't, however, address individuals who, while they don't believe Taiga is a pedophile, aren't sympathetic regarding his ban and simply want nothing to do with him on account of too much sussery that makes them be wary of Taiga and not trust him. As a pro shipper, I spend almost as much time battling lolicons and shotacons who seem not to understand how genuinely normie unfriendly their tastes are as I do battling antis. So then, ultimately, to answer the question I posed earlier, can you make yourself aware of all this context and still come out against Taiga? The answer is absolutely yes. On top of reasonable concerns I've already raised, and on top of the grim reality of not being able to expect everyone to do a deep dive into every drama, especially when pretty damning screenshots are flying about, the actual exoneration itself can be poked full of holes. This is not to say that you can't believe it. To reiterate, I'm not here to cancel Taiga, I'm simply telling you that this isn't a done deal situation. So then, let's dive into the multiple red flags and strange issues with this investigator's work I've mentioned earlier. Keep in mind that some of the stuff I'm about to bring up is more of an issue, and some of it is more nitpicky. You should carefully listen to the entire segment and pick it apart afterwards if possible. The first noteworthy point is that at the very beginning, the document exonerating Taiga is from an independent investigator. Delving into this drama, I was under the strong impression that there is this legendary and renowned private investigator out there who made such a powerful document exonerating Taiga that I'll just read through it and have zero qualms with it. That actually is, seemingly at least to me, how many people approached it. Took everything said for granted and moved on. That is certainly, I think, the impression you get when you watch a lot of YouTube videos covering this. Now, from the best that I have been able to find, Burn8, the person who has claimed credit for this document, is an individual on the internet who makes these kinds of documents in his free time when he believes people to make incorrect accusations. I familiarize myself with some of his work, which seems to be decent enough, but there are no other credentials for me to double check. I can't find what this person does for a living. I have no idea if they have experience or expertise in any of this, and given how sloppy I found the document broadly for the reasons I'm about to go into, I do have some concerns. On top of this, the investigator in here never refers to themselves as a private investigator, rather an independent investigator. I am unsure of how relevant this distinction is in terms of credentials, but I suspect that Burn8 doesn't refer to himself as a PI because of the connotation that might be in the heads of many people. He calls himself an independent investigator, so I will call him an independent investigator. We should all be careful with applying credentials blindly. As we begin reading the document, the exonerator makes it clear that they stumbled across Taiga and enjoyed hearing his impressive voice work, which gives off the impression that this person, albeit maybe not for a long time, at the very least enjoys some of Taiga's work. This by itself is fine. I mean, who cares? The issue is that you can't look at this in isolation because this can raise reasonable concern that could have been dealt with and were not. The investigator also claims to have spoken to Taiga directly, which again is fine, and follows it up with saying that upon deeper inspection, this is the case of harassment and IRL stalking, which he can greatly empathize with due to the investigator himself being a victim of stalking. This by itself starts giving an impression of bias, which could have very easily been resolved by something like peer review, but not only does that not appear to have been done, but this consideration of bias was not even addressed. Let me give you an example of how this bias shows itself in what I consider to be a problematic manner. The investigator writes that Ahzy, one of the mods responsible for the accusations doc, X-mods again I should say, was, as per Taiga's admission, banned for constant inappropriate flirting with other server members, including minors. There are 3 issues this opens up that work in tandem with each other. First of all, there is no source for this. There is no hyperlink. There is literally nothing in the document for me to click and find evidence of this. Second of all, it's an admission that Taiga's Discord server, at least at the time, had minors in there that Taiga was aware of, which is a huge fucking problem. And thirdly, paired with the screenshot where Taiga claims to have pretended to be underage to attract predators to his community, we now have a situation where Taiga allows minors in his community, attracts predators to his community on purpose, then experiences a situation, seemingly of his own making, where his own moderator, by his own admission, Taiga's admission that is, constantly inappropriately flirts with minors. Plural. The only version of events here that I will accept is that Ahzy flirted with multiple underage people and somehow Taiga found out about all of them at the exact same time. Otherwise, what you're telling me is that Taiga had someone in his community who had been behaved inappropriately towards minors and he let him stay? Are you fucking kidding me? Do you understand what this looks like in tandem with the growth strategy of, pretending to be 14? So then at this stage, we might wonder, how does the exoneration document handle this? Because I think this is a very logically flowing line of argumentation. I'm not a genius. I'm not doing a super deep dive. At this point, I'm mostly looking at things that pop up when you start doing any research into Taiga. If I've come up with this, you could have come up with this. So what does Burn8 say about this? Nothing. There is no information about what I just brought up. There is no explanation, no dogshit claim that it was all a joke. This is completely ignored. I understand that the purpose of this doc is to exonerate Taiga from the accusation of being a nonce, but can we maybe talk about how Taiga seems to have, through his own conscious decisions, mixed predators and children together in his community and directly therefore put the children in harm's way? Is this not good enough to make that argument? Then how about we talk about Taiga's Discord rule of not sharing your age with others, which by itself isn't exactly uncommon, you'd think, but then I also have screenshots of people in his Discord talking about how countries where age of consent is 14 are enlightened, to which Taiga responds with, "Gonna pretend I didn't see that, lol," and "Don't out yourself, guys, LMAO." Luckily for us though, at least this part of my argument, the document addresses directly. Is what I would say if the document addressed this at all. But it doesn't, and I'm not done. Further down, the investigator retells the story where Taiga asks for nudes of someone underage, the screenshot that I've shown you earlier. This is this screenshot and how the story went down. Some unknown person says, "Bruh, a server I'm a mod in, a lewd poster turned out to be under 18, but he's friends with the owner, so I need to go through 20 pages of nudes deleting them individually. Bruh." To which Taiga responds with, "For fuck's sake, send me him though." The person says, "Tai, that's bad." Taiga says, "You saw him too, you better share. Just copy it and send it here. Wait, how young?" The person says, 17, to which Taiga responds with, "Oh, who cares?" And this is the investigator's retelling of the story. Speaking of actual harm to children, let's address the joke. There is a DM where Taiga is speaking to someone who uncovered a minor posting lewds in their Discord channel. Taiga asks for these lewds, and when the user states they're 17 years old, in response, Taiga says, "For fuck's sake, who cares?" I was able to ask Taiga about this directly. He claims this is a horrible joke, he knows was wrong and very deeply regrets. And he made this joke because he was an immature 19-year-old. Not only is that an incorrect retelling of what happened, it feels like a purposefully wrong retelling of what happened, because this screenshot is, once again, not included in this portion of the exoneration, but Taiga's tweet longer explaining how it was wrong of him to joke around like that is included. Taiga, from the original screenshot, seems to have wanted the nudes because the individual was underage and lost interest when the underage turned out to have been too old. In the retelling, Taiga asked for nudes being unaware of the age and responded with "for fuck's sake" upon finding out the person is underage. You have to understand that when you investigate something diligently, you don't make these kinds of mistakes. When your work gets peer reviewed, these kinds of mistakes get caught out. Now, there's still plenty more for us to talk about, but keep in mind, already at this point, every retelling, every omission, every missing screenshot is done in a way that always favors Taiga in the end. It does make you wonder. Further down, the investigator claims that Taiga's behavior of acknowledging what he did being wrong is atypical of a child predator, which is not only unsourced again and reliant on us believing the guy blindly, but from all the fucked up predator hunting kick streams that I've seen, and of all the episodes of Chris Hansen that I've watched, apologizing for their behavior is actually quite typical, I want to say. I don't even know what this portion of the exoneration is even supposed to mean. Give me something to work with. I'm not a professional pedo hunter, and without appropriate credentials and links and something to latch onto, I can't accept this person's word blindly, especially given what I already told you. As we go through the document, he criticizes the people who made the Taiga takedown document of not caring about kids at all and just wanting to damage Taiga, which I absolutely acknowledge to be true. I think that is very clear. But then I levy the same exact accusation at Taiga when he, in the screenshots I'm about to show you, apparently knew of and had evidence that Ahzy is a groomer and a rapist and kept it on the down low until they started beefing? Or are you telling me that he found out the same day? Because this seems like he knew something really bad about Ahzy, but liked Ahzy's input into his community, I can only imagine, and simply decided to out this, not because he cares about victims, not because he wants Ahzy to have to answer to what he did, but because he doesn't like Ahzy anymore. But hey, you know what? I wouldn't have to be thinking about what the possibility here is. Maybe we'd know if the quote-unquote investigator cited any of this shit properly and didn't just omiss all of this shit. Like, are we serious right now? Let's have a look at these screenshots together. Now, for clarity's sake, I believe that Adrian's reality, the person who is talking to Taiga here, is the millionaire stalker. I'm not going to read out all of his messages because they seem to be completely off topic. Like, I cannot figure out what they mean in the context of what Taiga's saying. I don't know if they were having multiple conversations at once, or if Agent's reality was drunk, or what the fuck was going on here. If you want to read the whole thing, you can just pause as I go through it and read it yourself. But the gist of things is this. Taiga says, I have literal proof of the guy who accused me of raping a girl. And on top of the messages he sent me about rape, and on top of the fact that I witnessed him groom a girl while he was still in my circle, surely that's enough to clear my name and discredit this asshole, right? I don't want to cancel him, I want to discredit him. The fastest way to clear my name would be to show that he slandered me and lied. And if a court agrees with me, there isn't much more concrete proof than that. Agent's reality says, I see. Taiga says, how much influence do you have in Australia? Like, you can make sure the victim's rape reports are seriously looked at? I'm stupid for asking, sorry, lol. Agent says, I'm pretty powerful, like, just in general. Taiga says, what info do you need to help me get Ahzy arrested? And Agent says, do you have his personal details? Taiga responds with, depends on which personal details. He might have shared some with me at some point. What do you need? Agent says, anything the police can use to lock him up. An address or employer are best. Phone numbers are great because it's direct, otherwise you'll need to summon social medias and that's complicated. Taiga then seemingly shares first and last name and the city where Ahzy lives, to which Adrian says that is enough, and Taiga says okay, this is also where the victim lives. What it looks like to me is that Taiga was privy to some dark secret, if you want to call it, of Ahzy's and kept it to himself to later use as ammunition instead of, you know, immediately cutting ties and reporting it. I'm sorry, but what would you tell me at this point to make me rethink my stance of not being sympathetic to Taiga in this entire situation? I understand that Taiga claims to have been groomed by Ahzy, but it seems like that didn't stop him from leaking everything when they started fighting with each other. So why was he unable to do so earlier? And I should clarify, because he actually hasn't leaked everything. He claims to have all of this evidence, and I keep looking for all of this evidence, and I keep finding Taiga claiming to have all of this evidence, but I can't find the actual evidence. Where is it? You'd think it's going to be in the exoneration document because it's pretty important, but it isn't. How in the fuck is this not clearly outlined in the exoneration document in a manner that is easy to follow? Taiga, you need to understand, Taiga is in the biggest cancellation process of his life, with his entire career being turned to dust, and the document that is supposed to help him out doesn't include evidence that Taiga keeps claiming he has about one of the 3 people, as I've been told, responsible for trying to take him down. Which, you know, this seems like a pretty major character flaw in the form of being a rapist. You'd think that's relevant in terms of discrediting Ahzy, but it's nowhere to be found. And here's the thing, guys, we're still not done. You know how we spoke about the 3 ex-community members involved in the takedown of Taiga, the 2 ex-mods and the stalker, right? Turns out, not right. There aren't 2 mods involved in the allegations, there are 5 of them. 3 are never once mentioned in the exoneration document anywhere. The 2 that are mentioned, Gilk and Ahzy, clearly have a ton of fucking issues, and they're clearly fucked up people, but why did I have to do a balls deep dive into the stream of a different content creator, Copenseed, who is very cool by the way, and you should subscribe to him, who had to do an even deeper balls in dive to find out that Taiga has a track record of being labeled as an abuser by his ex-mods? Why is this not in the document? Let's go through their statements and find out what they had to say. Before we do that though, I can appreciate that at this point in the story there are a lot of names involved. Some of you might never heard any of this before, so it gets pretty confusing. Now, in an attempt to alleviate that at least a little bit, what I did is make a banger two-slider PowerPoint presentation for you, okay? Just to hopefully make this a little bit clearer. I know this is aggressively white, but I am Caucasian. So, there are three people that take the spotlight when it comes to the broader coverage of the allegations against Bungo Taiga, right? The three people sort of responsible for the allegations, if you will. That's Adrian, which is the stalker oiler, the millionaire dude who is making the police report. He made multiple websites going after Taiga, an all-around fucking freak, right? No doubt there. You've got Gilk, who is, according to the document, the disgruntled ex-mod who was into Taiga, didn't really care about his moderator duties, he just wanted to get close to Taiga because he was horny and Taiga didn't reciprocate. And you've got Ahzy, who is the alleged rapist groomer who was booted for flirting with kids, right? These three are kind of important to the story so far because the entire exoneration focuses on these three. However, you might be surprised to find that there are more people involved. Those are Pinky Porin, Small KD, and VTuber Love Slug. Now, these people corroborate the allegations of Taiga being a general piece of shit. Not a nonce, mind you, but just an abusive asshole. The reasons I think why these go without mentioning is because their characters are harder to assassinate and because people don't bother to do bare minimum research. This is excusable when it comes to the general audience and tourists, if you will, but this is not acceptable when it comes to content creators, and this is particularly unacceptable when it comes to the independent investigator. If by some miracle you're still listening at this point, I beg of you to start holding big content creators to a higher standard. This goes for Nux, this goes for Rev, this goes for Taiga. These are powerful people in place of immense privilege, and they have the influence to do better. It's particularly important that you do so in a situation like this, where the exoneration of Bungo Taiga document was written 2 years ago. This is not a freshly unfolding drama where the coverage is live and therefore prone to errors. This is people peddling an agenda and they're either hoping you, the viewer, are too stupid to figure it out, or they just don't care about how they put their own community at risk because to them you're nothing but a barely sentient ad revenue. Here is Pinky Porin's statement, trigger warning, racism and pedophilia. Taiga and I used to be friends and we had a falling out because of this exact situation being brought up to him, and in the case that you have heard him say anything bad about me, please take this into consideration. And it then links what I believe to be the original takedown document that the exoneration keeps alluding to. She then says, I was not a part of writing any of these threads and my doc was created last year, so that's why there are a lot of the same things as in Gilk's document. So if anything has been said about me and my friend group from Taiga, this is why. Here is a statement from Small KD and her twitlonger. My experience with Taiga and his toxicity. If you don't know who I am Kathy KD on Twitch, a probably by the end of this all, former administrator on Bungo Taiga's Discord and a probably former in parenthesis moderator of his Twitch channel. Out of all the admins, I've been the longest consecutive admin, being there since the beginning. I was essentially designated as an IT guy and with mod onboarding. I'm saying this hopefully to give myself a little bit of credibility. In addition to this, I'll also be attaching a screen cap of mod view just so I can prove who I am. I have seen Taiga be what I can only describe as abusive to the almost entire moderation team and berating the viewer base behind the closed doors of the staff room. He called people who have modded and decided to stream a little on the side leeches, and when these people have done nothing wrong, he insulted people countless times when they wanted to lift his spirits after a stream where the numbers were, in his opinion, subpar. People have been booted from the team for not showing up when live got in the way, with a bit of a fuck you on the way out. He's muted one of the mods over Yu-Gi-Oh! He treated something that was volunteering as a job when multiple mods already had jobs and lives outside of this volunteer position. On the viewer side, he silenced people in voice channels who dared to sit, chill out and just chat with each other while streaming. He talks shit about people behind their backs from the closed doors of the staff room and the mod rooms. All of the points from Gilk's toxicity documents have happened. It's real. To Taiga, should you see this, I'm disgusted with your behavior. I should have spoken out sooner, but I really thought you would change. I see now this isn't going to be the case, and I may fall forever believing that. Let me just resize this real quick, because I can see that you can't see the whole thing. There we go. Professional fucking video YouTuber guy over here. Here is an exchange on the old Twitter between Taiga and Slug. Taiga saying you were banned for being toxic yourself and causing issues with other mods, including Hellsang. You reached out as if everything was still fine, and when you didn't get your way, you released a Google Doc. I'll still address everything in a doc, but your motivations are clear, to which Slug responds with, when half of the mod team is removed for toxicity or associating with toxic people, or picking certain streamers over you, there's a common denominator there, Taiga. The rest of the information in that document speaks for itself. I watched you incessantly abuse the mod team, especially Hellsang and Gilk, hoping that you would change, and all you ever did was block people who disagreed with you and delete the evidence. The things you've said and done are unconscionable. Here's Slug also saying, KD is another member of Taiga's mod team I've worked with closely. I vouch for them and trust them in the same capacity I do Gilk. And then finally, I just want to reaffirm what Gilk is saying in these follow-up statements. As I previously stated, in my time as a mod, I witnessed the toxicity from Taiga firsthand. It was incessant despite best efforts from the moderators to work with him, especially Gilk. You could argue that they were omitted because their allegations aren't related to the nonsense stuff. But unfortunately, the Exoneration document makes it pretty clear that it's broader than just those accusations. So sorry, but not sorry. You could argue that all of these mods are actually bad people, but the investigator doesn't argue this point. At this stage, what it feels like to me is that they weren't included because it wasn't as easy to character assassinate them, and I hate that this is my conclusion. This was supposed to have been a really good document. The worst part is that, in a way, you can craft a much stronger, in my opinion, argument that Taiga actually is a bit of a piece of shit, but that doesn't make him a pedo just because people try to jacket him as one because they don't like him. But we were robbed of that timeline because the investigator would rather include none of this in the document. But here's the thing, guys, we are still not done. Near the end of the document, the investigator claims that Taiga doesn't label himself a Shotacon and cheekily misses out on the word anymore, which as a result sends the message that he never did rather than that he stopped doing it. He even follows up with saying that Taiga actually distances himself away from the label without ever mentioning that he used to not only label himself as a Shota, but also back in 2019 had a private conversation with someone in DMs where he explained with a little bit of detail that anime kids are hot as fuck and he wants to be one and love one and wants to fuck a little boy. This brings me to the conclusion of my critique of this document. No matter what journalistic standard you will wish to judge this piece of work against, I believe it will fall short. The outright claim of liking Taiga's content, the random spelling and grammatical mistakes, random either accidental or more probably purposeful inaccuracies, and the omission of a number of relevant facts, such as the other mods I mentioned earlier that have come out against Taiga, or Taiga's soft admittance that he was in fact an active part of a pretty bigoted Discord server, are not finding its way into the doc at all. This makes me believe that the document was not proofread, fact-checked, or corroborated on with other reputable or otherwise trustworthy independent investigator. The fact that the writer of this exoneration makes it clear he's using Taiga himself as a source for at least one of the claims, with no proof of, by the way, is absolutely insane given that he, as far as I can tell, didn't bother with due diligence. I'm sorry, but at most charitable, this feels like a sloppy work of an overworked investigator trying to meet a quota, and at worst, it comes across as a hobbyist adopting a core label to veil the fact that he is, in fact, a hobbyist. To conclude, in my view, the existence of Taiga is cluttered with controversies, risque content, and being a brand risk, to a point where even all of this drama aside, I wouldn't be surprised if YouTube, that is already known for not being the best at upholding their policies consistently, banned him nonetheless. Unfortunately, we can't put all of the drama aside, and the simple reality is that Taiga has said enough really bad shit that I can't blame anyone who doesn't know what the truth is and just wants to drop him like a hot potato ASAP. The exoneration document is disappointingly biased, riddled with omissions that somehow every single time favor Taiga too exclusively for it to be accidental, and was not corroborated on with any other reputable investigators. It felt like the work of a hobbyist who had an explicit goal of exonerating Taiga, and I'm genuinely appalled at how many people looked at it uncritically. I had to spend my weekend and a better part of Monday to find out that there are 5 X mods out in Taiga for being a piece of shit, not 2, or that Taiga confirmed being in the bigoted Discord, and I'm not an investigator. I'm not even real. I'm literally a figment of your imagination you created to help you cope as you try and bite the doctors who are feeding you drugs after they put you in a straitjacket. Jesus Christ. How can you call yourself an investigator and retell the asking for nudes of the 17-year-old in a way that he did? Nothing about this makes me feel good. Everything about this is shitty. Everyone involved in this is shitty. Nux is an ignorant muppet who will only live down the fact that he called someone a pedo to hundreds of thousands of people with absolutely no care for whether he's right, because Taiga is actually dodgy as fuck. Rev, who keeps defending Taiga, isn't aware of 3/4 of the stuff I brought up because he doesn't give a flying fuck about doing any research so long as he gets to call Nux an idiot because they have an ancient grudge between their families, and most people covering this drama have done an atrocious job of outlining what the issues here are. If anyone, including Burn8, the owner of the document, of the Exoneration document, wants to have a chat, then you can reach out and you know where to find me. I'll be accommodating and gentle, but I won't sit here and pretend like this is some sad story of an innocent twink getting abused by some wrongdoers. Most people involved in this arc of a story seem like genuinely bad people, and my core issues at this point are pragmatic. If everything that I found and showed you wasn't included in the Exoneration, then what else out there exists that I did not manage to find? That will be it for today's story. Let me know what you think down below. If you enjoy the content, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Special extra thanks to Cope and Seed for helping me out with the research. Go ahead and give them a sub. Their links will be in the description down below. Many other relevant links are also in the description down below. And if you want to find the uncensored stuff, then you'll have to look elsewhere because I'd literally be breaking YouTube's TOS by adding it to the description. Thank you to my followers, my supporters, and the Golden OnlyFans, whose names you'll be seeing on screen in just a sec. And if you'd like to have a more direct conversation, then you can find me live on Twitch every Wednesday and Friday at around 8 PM Central European Time. I will talk to you guys soon. Remember to drink plenty of water and be careful who you trust. Good night and take care.